Okay, hopefully more people will come in. I got a call and it's on my app. I am gonna look into how to turn that off. I just restarted, because I figured that was the best way to hopefully, um, I tried to restart it as quickly as possible to hopefully have people get back on because, yeah, so I restarted it very quickly, just so people, instead of trying to fix it, which I thought would like take longer, so I just restarted when I got a call. I don't know who it was, probably some stupid spam call again. I didn't recognize the number. Although, yeah, I don't I don't like to generally answer calls if I don't know the number. So if it's someone who's from an old phone who I don't have their number saved, hopefully that they'll text me or something. Because yeah, I don't generally like to answer unknown calls. So yeah, but I was saying with Erudite, I was very like I thought it was a very low blow that when I was criticizing some of her actions, she brought up the duster, and that has been challenging. People keep bringing it up, but I mean I know why, in a way, that they keep bringing it up. Okay, hopefully that I think the chat's working still. My live before I don't know why, but it like apparently the chat randomly stopped working. But on my end, I thought it looked like it was the same. Nothing changed. Yeah. Also, too. Oh, hi Egan. Thanks for commenting. So I know it's working. Um, but yeah, I can't comment. I don't know how I comment on my phone. On here, but I guess I can just say everything. But it would be good to be able to write in chat to be like, hey, is this working, or like just to test it as well. How are you? I'm not too bad right now. How is everyone? Yeah, I was doing. Yeah, have been a bit stressed from the everyone bringing up the duster still, but I mean, I get it's gonna happen, so I guess all I can do is try to move on to other things, and yeah, and I know, and like, see, I think, you know, doing okay. Have a stomach ache. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Um, yeah, I've had pretty bad stomach aches at some points. Do I still watch Destiny? Um, I wasn't ever really too big into watching Destiny. I started to get into them a little bit when I was trying to like make content, and then decided to. I mean, I have before. Like I made like vegan stuff before, and other like things I was interested in, but I was trying to get more to like interact more with the sphere to see like to express some ideas around that to see if like stuff I was passionate about and stuff I wanted to talk about could be good to get into this sphere perhaps. But yeah, I never watched him like a lot, and I only started to kind of recently watch him more. I did watch the okay, so I watched him a bit because I'm been involved with like vegan communities and vegans debating him. So that's about all the stuff I was kind of more or less exposed to Destiny in. So he was kind of one of like like the people kind of around like liberals or breadtube that had bitten the bullet on some really abhorrent things regarding veganism. So that's about what I knew about him. He was like another person who bit the bullet on pretty abhorrent things. But I didn't have too much exposure to him outside of veganism. But I did know he was friends with Vegan Gains, and from what Vegan Gains says, he was a pretty good friend to him. But that's about another thing. I did not follow Destiny too closely. Cow meat is better. Yeah. Yeah, obviously I don't eat any meat. I do know recently that lab grown meat is supposedly now like virtually no harm, but I mean, I don't generally have any desire at this point to eat any animals, and like I don't. Yeah, I bet I don't even really remember what it would be like at this point, because I've been vegan for like about a decade. Can you say happy birthday to me? My birthday is in 6 days. Oh, happy birthday! I have a birthday coming up too in like a couple of days. My birthday is on the 13th. But yeah, so I don't know if any of you have any opinions on like cultured meat or anything. What sign is that? That sign is Pisces. So I think the next one after that is Aquarius. So you might be in I don't know. I think I forget when Pisces ends. But yeah, like the beginning of March and the end of February is the Pisces. Let's see a birth chart. I am not very well versed in horoscopes. But if anyone else knows about it, I'm like pretty interested in like personality, like Enneagram and Myers-Briggs and stuff. And I know the people in those communities tend to be really into horoscopes a lot. So that's yeah. But I never got super into it. I'm a Leo. Oh. I was for a short bit like fascinated by numerology a bit. I thought that was interesting. When I think I was like 17. Oh, you think it's all kind of BS, but it's fun icebreaker. I think yeah, that's cool. Oh, Hinsuk, hey, I'm so glad you're watching. Enneagram is sweet content for a bridge into psychotherapy because there is always conflict evading us. Yeah, that's true. I tend to resonate a lot with Enneagram. My Enneagram is a type 6, and I connect a lot with other Enneagram 6s. Why is there no plaster on the wall? There's plaster on other walls. This is just a stylistic choice, I guess, for the people who built it. But yeah, I agree. It's good. It is good for understanding conflict. Enneagram. I think type sixes. Yeah, a lot of the problems I have, I think tend to be very connected to being a type six. It says your message was retracted. I'm not sure if you did that or if some type of auto moderation did it. But what are you doing? Give us your top 5 dead or alive. Oh, hey. Oh, rappers? Hmm. I used to, yeah. So I like Kid Cudi. I go in and out of phases kind of music. I want some points I like rap more than others, and I do like it still, but I say I like Kid Cudi a lot. I like Eminem. Well, Eminem used to be like my very best favorite. I still like him a lot, so, but I don't watch as much now. But yeah, and at different songs I'll remember like, and I'll like have the desire to listen to them. Like Karma by Lloyd Banks. I like was like what listening to that a lot, and I just randomly remembered it and decided to search it. And I think it's really good. Sorry, my online presence went up in flames. Oh yeah, that's understandable. I understand the conflict with drugs because I'm continuing my struggling against alcohol. Yeah, it's rough for sure, I think. Um and yeah, I definitely regret leaning into it. I mean, I kind of knew I would, but I don't know. It's tough when your priorities kind of are in one place, and you might know the consequences of like leaning into certain things, but sometimes it's hard to not do it when it's like, okay, at the time I kind of just wanted to remain in that space where I wouldn't have to take it as seriously, which I knew if I were ever to come out of it, but I don't know, I couldn't have seen myself coming out of it at that point. Bass, love Cudi, yeah. I find a lot of his songs are very relatable, and he sounds good, so to me listening to him is very relaxing. And then his iconic humming too. I like that. Need to go. If I stay here for more than a minute, I will fall in love with you. Okay, well, yeah, see you around. Where are you from? I don't want to get too into specifics though, but yeah. I'm from India. Oh, I'm from. That's not. That's vague enough. I'm from the U.S. Yeah, there's a one YouTuber who I kind of found out kind of recently about. Um, Amen Varma. He makes videos on like mental health. He's a psychologist over there. I found his video on cyclothymia, so it's interesting because not a lot of people talk about that. What type of YouTubers do you watch, Sign? What is the current time there? Evening. Yeah, it's evening time. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, Dr. K. Dr. K is his name. Yeah, I have mixed feelings about him. Interesting too. His recent he recently talked to Erudite and Destiny. I don't know if you've been following all their controversy, but yeah. Yeah, I agree with some of the stuff he says. I do think he has a unique content in how he mixes spirituality with psychiatry and self help. So that's cool. So if you like him, you probably like Aman Varma too. He's a psychologist, so he focuses on some of the same stuff as Dr. K as well. He also talks a lot about spirituality and how that relates to psychology. I've been watching hella cooking videos recently. Oh, any good recipes? Yeah, it's kind of difficult with the income I make. I make like very sparing income and like I'm like financially dependent, so that can be difficult around food. I have wanted to get on food stamps, so they could be helpful. It's like mainly based on income, I think. It's like basically purely based on income, I think. So I think I'd be able to, but also um so I signed up at one point to get food stamps and then it was so weird. I get all kinds of spam calls, so I don't generally answer calls from unknown numbers. So I I signed up for the food stamps and then I should have plugged it into my phone right away. They gave me a time. They were like, "Okay, call like Tuesday at like 2:30." I'm making that up, but it was something like that at on like the date like January 6th or whatever. It wasn't that date, but so I was like, "Okay, I'll call at this date." And then right before I I was about to I it was about the time I plugged it into my phone. I had like several missed calls from this number. And then I called and it was like super weird. I was like on hold for like a very long time and then it like it didn't like let me leave a message or anything. I forget how, but basically I wasn't able to like even leave a message during our scheduled time. It was super weird. I made roasted tomato orzo the other day, and it was good as fuck. The girl wasn't on YouTube though. I think it was TikTok. Oh, that sounds very good. Yeah, orzo's good. I kind of want a rice cooker. I feel like that would be good, and I think to like make stuff like orzo and stuff in that, or like rice. And I love tomatoes as well. Yeah. I'm not terribly picky. I used to be very picky when I was younger, but I just kind of like naturally grew out of it. I don't know. But yeah, I love tomatoes. Um oh yeah, just get a small one. Mine only makes 4 servings. Yeah, true. I think it was like $15 on Amazon. Yeah, I think maybe at some point. I think I have an instant cooker somewhere. Like we've moved different at different times, so some stuff gets lost in the move. Although, luckily, recently for a while after the last move, I found my Well, I guess I'm exaggerating how much we moved, but I did recently find my rain hat, which I'd been looking for, which was cool. It was raining and I wanted to smoke a cigarette, but yeah, the rain hat wasn't terribly helpful for smoking the cigarette, but a little bit. Not really. Mostly just good for somewhat keeping my hair dry, but I don't know where my bucket hat was. I had a rain hat, um, like this hat, and also a bucket hat, which I lost. It, um, this hat too. But yeah, I've recently I never lost that one, but then I found some of my winter. Just get an umbrella, lol. Maybe, yeah. That's true. Oh, I think I heard bucket head. Yeah, bucket hat. I was talking about how I lost some of my hats during the move, but I found this one, this cap, and then I found my rain hat. I always want to get a bucket hat, but my hair is too long. Wait, I'm not sure I know what that is. But yeah, it's nice. They're nice. I like bucket hats. They're pretty good for the sun as well. And somewhat for the rain, even if they're not specifically a rain hat. They're good for that. It's a brand that was popular back in the day. Oh, they're swaggy. Oh, are you like a millennial? I feel like many of us in the spaces that we're in are I feel like very heavily millennials, like people around in their late 20s, early 30s, like how I am. No, I'm a Zoomer. Yeah, that's like the second most, I think, Zoomers. And then, yeah, so mostly I think maybe mostly. You're old. Yeah, I'm like the last year that is not generally debated on where on the end of millennials are. But I mean, I know they're kind of just very loose, whatever generalizations. Obviously, like it's hard to draw a hard line on people regarding when they were born, but there's certain patterns people fall into. So I feel like it's some merit to it, but also not really. Oh, Bucket Hat. Buckethead is a schizotypical guitarist who wears a KFC chicken bucket on his head to be incredibly morbid for life in a chicken. Oh, wow. I'll look up Bucket Hat. That's like 1996 to 94. Oh yeah, where the debate on where millennial ends. I've heard it crazy. I've heard it from everywhere from like 94 to like 2001 to where it's debated where it ends. I don't know. It's yeah, and then I've even heard of myself technically referred to as like a zillennial. But yeah, you're pretty. Oh, thank you. Stoss how generation theory is kind of, yeah, I agree. Generational theory is kind of fake, but I feel we treat it as, the more we treat it as real, the more real. That's true. I do agree on some level of that. That yeah, that it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I think it comes it there's like some truth to it, and then it gets amplified by becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. What movies do you like? I used to watch sometimes horror. Depends on like what I was doing. I used to watch like horror movies at times because I have high anxiety, and like I kind of I would like comedy sometimes, but like also because of like when I was like really stressed and preoccupied, sometimes it was hard to get into. So I would have a tendency to like what want to watch a horror movie so it could like keep my attention. I don't know. I just feel like if you have, I've heard it others say it, like if you have high anxiety sometimes and you want to distract yourself, a horror movie can be good because it can be like easier to engage in something scary when you're stressed. I don't know. Stuff like that. But also too, I mean I like some like drama type stuff or just stuff I like relate to. But I haven't watched movies in a lot of movies lately. I mainly watch YouTube, so I'll mainly just like search whatever I'm interested in the moment, or when I'm playing on my online games. I like to have background stuff while I'm playing them. By observing it, we make it more real and defined. I agree with that largely. I don't know if I've looked into it enough to have a super hard stance, but I feel like I agree with you. Before recently, we didn't necessarily speak about them overtly. Yeah, yeah, that's what I tend to see as well. Um, but I don't know how much of that is my own confirmation bias because, like I said, I haven't looked into it too deeply. But I also feel like it might it. I feel like it, maybe it's like increasing, or maybe it goes in waves. I don't know. I have a feeling. Have you watched Sandlot? Not in quite a bit, but I did really like that movie. But yeah, yeah, I think that's definitely a classic. But yeah, as far as generations, have any of you heard of the Gen X rise? Me too. What about grown-ups? I think so. I think so when it was like newer. I watched it with like some of my family members and it was really it was really funny from what I remember. I've come to appreciate horror movies. I don't really get scared or anxious, but I love it allows me for more interesting cinematography and set pieces. Never heard of the Gen X rise thing. Yeah, I agree. I think the stories can be fascinating as well. And even if it's like I'm not like super, depends on how scared or just like the creepiness of it. Even if I'm not like very scared, part of it is just it's enough to kind of like pull me in. I don't know. Because it's like I know it's fake on some level, but it's just easier to get into. And that I feel like helps deal with like when I'm really stressed about real life stuff or like potentially things that could happen in real life. Nah, never heard of the Gen X rise thing. Yeah, so from what I know is the Gen X basically declared war on Gen Z. They felt like really kind of forgotten and also at the same time picked on. I haven't like watched it in a little bit, but yeah. So some of them, unironically, I think, put on like face paint, like war paint, and we're talking like in really intense, like Rewrite at Dawn, like Gen X. It's time for Gen X to stand up for themselves, and like they declared war on like Gen Z, and I think they called in like some older millennial made a video and some of them were like, oh, let's team up older millennials, but and then a bunch of people like also um parodied it as well, but I think it started unironically, but it almost looks like a parody because it's like pretty out there. Oh wait, is this when they wanted to fight Gen Z for not liking Eminem? Kind of. I mean, Eminem made a line in his song referring to Gen Z and like Gen Z me brah, and like none of the Gen Z I don't think complained about Eminem being offensive, but there was a narrative that Gen Z's offended by Eminem. And then so all the Gen Z were like, none of us were offended by Eminem either, and there were two sentiments. Either we weren't offended by Eminem, we like Eminem, we like his music, we think he's cool, or oh, we don't like Eminem, or more specifically, they didn't like that song. They're like, yeah, it's not a good song, but we weren't offended by it. So yeah, that I feel like that a lot of it came from there. From some TikToks, shit, very jobless behavior. Huh, well, I don't have anything to talk about there, but yeah, it is certainly very passionate, intense behavior. But yeah, I don't have any leg to stand on about talking about very jobless behavior. I would like some of Gen Z. Oh, I feel like some Gen Z is super soft and would get offended by the homophobia or songs like Kim. Um, maybe, I don't know, cause like it, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's if how specific that is to Gen Z, like, cause Gen Zs I feel like are either a lot of them are like edgelords. I think I don't know, but I mean, millennials is the same way. But I think definitely, and all the generations are kind of like that. I mean, I do think people definitely became more sensitive. No, not in a bad way. I feel like in many ways it's like pretty good that they became more sensitive to homophobia. But um, yeah, okay. But songs like Kim, like, okay, people were like, "Oh, we're hard." As a kid, we listened to Kim. Okay, but that song is literally like I listened to it as a kid too, cause like I was a fan of Eminem. But okay, that song is insane. Like, it is pretty messed up. And like, not to say he shouldn't be able to make it, but okay, come on, that song is messed up. That's like not the same as like doing like any type of like gay homophobic joke. That song is messed up. But yeah, I do think, and also Eminem I think recently has had kind of expressed more regret for like this a lot of the stuff he said about Kim in his music. Do you have you listened to the song Stronger Than I Was? I yeah, so that seems like it's mainly in like Kim's perspective, like I think and he's kind of like reflecting on like the hurtful things he did, and I think a lot of it was tied to his drug use at the time. So when he got sober, I think he really started to reflect on it and kind of express remorse about it. Yeah, I guess Gen Z joined millennials in being edgelords. Yeah, that's true. And they I think kind of compete against each other at times. Who's more edgelord? Oh, you're soft. No, you're soft. Yeah. Sex identity probably sorts itself out because neurotypicals basing their whole identity on sex is its own kind of disturbing. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I never. Okay, so whole identity on sex is. You mean like sexual orientation or like more like someone's like gender or like that type of thing? I haven't heard it in a while. On Marshall Mathers too. He also made made up with his mom. Oh yeah. Yeah, I heard his song to his mom. It was he was kind of reconciling, yeah. There were there were kids in my little sister's class doxing and making hate pages for their math teacher. What? The kids are very edgy. Oh yeah. Are those like alpha? So maybe the best example are boomers and Gen X constantly defining what real men are like and so on. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I do agree with you on that. Cause yeah, some people do both. Like some people base a lot of their identity on like being a real man or a real woman, like to some extent, or like, and then some people base all their identity on like being kind of like straight or gay or yeah. Why do you look so concerned? Oh, now or like before in general? No, she's a younger Zoomer, basically. Okay. Oh, also too, some people just came in, so tell me if you're getting a lot of background noise too, so I know if now is a good time to keep streaming or not. Cause I don't have I don't have like a specific mic. I just use the mic on my phone. But yeah, but what about doxing like their math teacher? Like, did something happen? Like, what led to that? If you don't mind me asking. He, oh, is that a type of microphone? Oh, they got detention or something. Well, you know how kids are. Oh, um, I mean, honestly, I wasn't exactly expecting that for the detention. I don't know. I thought like maybe the teacher had had it thought it was going to be like the teacher said something that offended them or something, or like I don't know, or some type of thing related to discrimination. I feel like those are usually the things I hear about people kind of exposing teachers on. But I guess unfair usually it's when there's unfair um things they got in trouble for. Here, should I turn a light? It got darker. I feel like when people like kind of expose teachers for getting kids in trouble, I feel like it's usually more like a suspension or expulsion. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever heard of someone kind of doxing or trying to expose their teacher for detention. They were bad kids, mad at their teacher, and started harassing him. Yeah, I don't know. That's new to me. Oh, thank you. Someone commented on my Discord. Love you. Um, yeah. Do you feel like that's kind of like in line with what like how like kids are today, or like kids in general? I don't know. I'm not sure. I feel like it's a bit more extreme from the sounds of it than I normally hear about or have experienced. Just before I left high school, there was a big trend of exposed and confession pages for students. It was very chaotic. Yeah, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I feel like if it's just pages of people talking about it, like venting, but I don't know if they're trying to go out of their way to like get retaliation, but if they're just venting, I don't feel like that would be a big deal. But I feel like maybe you're saying they try to retaliate and like dox people and like contact them, which I don't agree with. Especially if it's something like a detention. I don't know. But I get being young and kind of reacting strongly. Like even arguably I react strongly in certain ways. So the internet changed a lot of dynamics. Yeah, that's true. I don't really know what you're saying. Moon. Moon is aura? Yeah, no, sorry, I just saw what you said. Also, too, people came in, so I'm a bit, preoccupied. I know and I'm also, because I'm, like, kind of distracted. Also, I'm worried, too. It's, like, ruining kind of other people's ability to hear me. Try. Is that distracting at all? Can anyone hear someone talking in the background? Or are you two on like do you know each other from like Discord? Nope. Have you been another channel? Random? Uh oh, you have no idea who this. Oh, you kind of seem like you knew each other. Or at least not well, but at least a little bit. I'm just friendly like that. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. It's good to have friendly people. Especially in these spaces where you can get pretty hostile at times. But yeah, it was I think yeah, like I made a video I think to get like traction on my channel, and I posted it to Destiny's Reddit like a shit post, and that's like I think how like some people found me. And then through Not So Erudite, which is where I got interesting, I got like a bulk of the subscribers that pushed me over the limit to be able to go live, but I didn't end up going live right after, like I somewhat planned to, but Yeah, so the app on YouTube Live, so I'm at there's like, it's like apparently easier in some ways if you get over 1,000 viewers to go live, but if you have like over 50, you can go live on the YouTube app. But it allows you to do more things, I think, if you have over 1,000. But I don't know this like differences, but this is, yeah. Uh, so yeah, I'm not like very good at. It's 33:00 a.m. here. Get some food. Having his fast meal. Oh, are you doing so are you doing intermittent fasting for like some type of health reasons or religious, or I think you said you wasn't. I'm oh, for religious reasons. That's okay. I thought you said you are Muslim. So you're doing fasting for religious reasons. Yeah. I read that. I misread it at first, sorry, because I'm a bit distracted, but yeah. What are you gonna eat, Moon? Anything good? Oh, that reminds me. Does does anyone I'm about to see a movie in an hour. Oh, nice. What are you seeing? It's called Mickey 17. Huh. Haven't heard of it. What's it about? But yeah, I was gonna say, if any of you have been watching Brittany Simon, she's doing like, um, kind of these like challenges where she tries to like eat within like the vegetarian diet, and then she tried to eat like within the vegan diet or like plant-based. But yeah, so she's gonna have a video coming up on veganism, which I like. I like Brittany Simon's content, so naturally, as a vegan, I am very interested to see what she's gonna say about veganism. I don't know if any of you watch her, but yeah. It's about a guy who gets cloned and has his clones die doing dangerous tasks. The director is the same that Korean movie that was huge a few years ago, Parasite. It also stars Robert Pattinson. I do not watch Britney. No. Oh, okay. So he has like multiple clones. And like they're also like somewhat loose with like cloning, so it's like I'm guessing they're like cloned as adults. I've known about Britney for ages, though. Oh. Have you like watched her any of her collabs or going on other people's channels ever? Or just heard people talking about her? Oh, yes, I have. Which one? Or both? I remember her watching her debate Sargon of Akkad a long time ago. Well, back when she was a feminist YouTuber. Oh, okay. I only fairly recently started watching Brittany Simon, so I'm not familiar with that debate. But yeah, that's how I mainly kind of found out about Kyla. Was I came across Brittany Simon's. So I came across Brittany Simon's videos here and there. I forget how, but like, yeah, I've seen her interact with the. Yeah, I figured you might have like watched her on other people's, but I wasn't sure if you only just heard her being spoken about versus like actually seen her interact kind of with other people. But I've only recently come across Brittany Simon's channel, and then that's how I found out about Kyla as well. But I was gonna say I think I kind of saw her like I saw her like here and there. I think it was something in my algorithm. Maybe her like as I watched trying to like look at like what people were having to say about BPD. I also like different. She also I feel like talks about different stuff that like introspection and kind of philosophy. So maybe like different things. So she's in my algorithm, and I was like, oh, her ideas are kind of interesting. So like I would like watch them, and then like I was like I would watch her here and there, and I like found her content pretty interesting, and I was like, oh, that level thing, you know, it sounds kind of interesting. Incredibly confusing, and like I already, and it sounds kind of like I already like have a lot of systems that like I tend to be interested in, like Enneagram and stuff, and like Myers-Briggs and like different stuff that like I wasn't sure like it was interesting enough for me to like kind of like, right, I mean it was very interesting, but I was sure it was gonna be like useful enough that I wanted to invest time in like really understanding it. But once I got into like more into Brittany's content, um, because of like her other ideas really pulled me in. I started to try to really understand the levels, and I feel like I gotten a lot closer to understanding it. I'm not super confident, but yeah, I feel like I at least have a somewhat of a grasp on them. But yeah, that wasn't what pulled me into her content. But at the same time, I feel like maybe she talks about the levels less now. Cause like before, if you watch her content, I feel like, and you like didn't understand the levels, I feel like there was just like such gaps, massive gaps, in your ability to follow along with what she was saying. I don't care for her stuff besides some pop culture takes, but I think she's a bit overhated. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I mean, in like anything, or I mean anyone really, you're gonna, I think, have like a difficult time completely understanding what their content is all about without knowing. And that's not to say like you have to go like watch her, or you can't kind of like have a loose opinion of like an opinion of someone that's not the most, but it's hard to. I think it's hard too to both gauge like why someone likes someone or why someone dislikes someone, or like with like, or if their content, why people like their content. But yeah, and I do think Brittany Simon tends to have like difficult to understand communication at times, and she even like acknowledges this, and I've even said it to Brittany before, and she said it as well. I've said, yeah, like I do, and I said I did like her, I think, in like her content, but like also like, yeah, it can be tough to understand. And we've had like kind of like topics where where I've kind of tried to like understand her, and she's also um conversed with me, and we and put an effort to try to clear things up. So I did appreciate that as well. But yeah, I do think she can be hard to understand. And um I mean, it makes sense, yeah. Like recently she's been diagnosed with like autism, which I mean, kind of people like to argue on like the self diagnosis of autism and how it's being used too loosely. But I mean, the criteria by design is very broad. I think a lot too much blame tends to be put on individuals, whereas I don't think people realize like where it is broad by design. It's not like just people like the people saying, "Oh, I have autism," and the reason why there can be like a lot of confusion on like the experience of what someone like with autism has. But I try not to judge people. Just hope people try to engage with stuff honestly. Okay, yeah. I feel like in some level, I feel like judging oftentimes is pretty natural, but also like it's good to be fair, and also like if you judge someone, it doesn't mean like it's going to be a natural thing. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to, like, you can still be measured and be like, oh, is that, should I say that, should I not say that? I mean, that's how I am and how I try to do things. But obviously too, I can be very opinionated and also have a tendency to want to speak my opinion quite a bit as well. So for better or for worse. But yeah, I think if you, I think like especially a lot of times if you're gonna like kind of like form a hard judgment, or kind of like, especially if you're gonna necessarily like try to like speak about someone, I do think it's probably best to be like well versed on someone, or like at the very least say like, okay, I'm just gonna talk about like this very specific thing that I saw or I've heard about. I don't necessarily know this person very well, but this is my opinion. So yeah, I do think, yeah, I don't necessarily think judging in itself is bad, but I do get what you're saying. I do think people like expressing judgments and stuff can be unfair and harmful at times. I've always been more understander than debater. That's good. Try to be inquisitive instead of dismantling their whole ideology or whatever. Yeah, I think that can be helpful. Especially too at the beginning. I think because if you're gonna want to debate something, I think it can have value. But I think even if you're gonna do that, I think people should be coming from where you're coming from, at least before they kind of step into that, trying to debate and dismantle things. Because I think people are rush into that too much, and that's, to be honest, that's a lot of my criticism of where Kyla came from. So I was trying to express criticism because I saw a video of Cherry in a lot of like what she was kind of criticizing her for was that same thing. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Cherry. So that's kind of what inspired me to go make the comment about Kyla, because that's because Cherry had like a lot of the same like type, was kind of exposing a lot of the same problems I've had with Kyla. So I went on to like anything else. Okay, it's like Dan's server. I was new there, so when I went on there to say like, oh, I liked Cherry's video on Kyla, and she has a lot, and she expressed different problems I've had with her as well, and a lot of it was like being very rash in debates. So but then she just totally shifted the focus and I think poisoned the well on about me and trying to like just criticize her actions. So I mean, I do think that was pretty messed up, but yeah. Yeah, some people don't have things aligned descriptively or make have a glaring hypocrisy, and it's hard to move forward without acknowledging that. Yeah, I do think that. I do. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot of where Kyla's problems come from. I think she kind of, especially like in the heated debate or whatever, or under pressure, she kind of says things without taking the time to think them through. And like, to an extent, everyone does that, some more than others. At times, maybe I do that, but I don't know. I think I tend to be. But also, yeah, I don't know why she does that. Oh wait, Owen, I just saw you pop up on my notifications. I didn't ban you. I'm sorry you're having trouble with chat. I don't know if it's some type of auto moderation, but it's okay, don't worry. Yeah, but I am sorry about that. Anyway, I don't know what happened. I didn't ban you. I didn't do anything to your account. Yeah, some people don't. Yeah, okay. Free Owen. I wish. I don't know how. Yeah, I think I don't know why she kind of speaks that way. If like maybe some of it has to do with like TBI, some of it has to do with her natural personality, some of it has to do with like maybe over dealing with like kind of confidence issues in the past and overcompensating. I don't know. But nice. Me and Owen be chopping it up in the music channel. That's my dog for real. Yeah, I'm glad you have that channel. It's cool to have people suggest things for a server to like know what they're interested in, especially too like I play like the games like a lot, so I do want to get more into uh, running the Discord server. But yeah, I do spend like a lot of times on the games for like, cause that's like right now the source of income I have. So yeah, I do. It's very inefficient, but it's at least it's something. I like do it constantly to make very little, but that's okay. Especially when they have very similar taste. Yeah. What games and music do you enjoy these days, Kayla? Yeah, for music, I mostly watch stuff. The games I play usually aren't that good, although I did recently, what game did I'm trying to remember the name of some of them that I recently got into that were more enjoyable. 'Cause some of them are pretty boring, but oh, sorry, I'm blanking. I'm having a bit trouble focusing with the conversations going on in the background. We freed him. Yeah, I'll make a video maybe, like on some of the games. I do Scrambly.io, so I don't know if any of you are interested in that, but yeah, it it's difficult to, because they have some games. So some games I don't have. It looks like more games are available for Android than iOS. I'm on iOS, so and right now I've been listening to a lot of. I don't know them. Yeah. Does anyone listen to any Trapped ever? I've liked them. I've liked them for a bit. Like they're like one of the ones where I have a tendency to like most of their songs. Like kind of like alternative rock kind of. People call them new metal, but they don't like to be called that. I don't know. It's spelled like TRAPT. Ooh, and a couple. I really like to sometimes like I'll listen to like a song I used to like to listen to on the radio that I hadn't heard in a while. That I'll just get like I'll search the lyrics for and listen to. Like but I don't know if anyone else does that. Like I recently looked up Karma by Lloyd Banks. Like I looked up the lyrics to it because I remembered liking it. But yeah, someone asked about rap earlier. I mean, so if you like rap, maybe you'll like that. Thanks, Kayla. You gave me a hilarious opportunity to look extra autistic with a phone jambled into my ear while walking around a grocery store. Good luck with everything. Aw, thanks. Yeah, I really appreciate you watching. I really, I look up to you and like your explaining schizotypal everything. Given, I feel like more people should talk about that. And like cluster A, because it's not a lot focused on. A lot more focus on like cluster B. I've been listening to a lot of Crystal. Crystal Castles. What type of music do they have? It's 3D, yeah. Ah, it's like glitch. Yeah, I feel like I know what you're talking about. And there's one song that I randomly heard that I think, I'm trying to remember the name of it. I should post that. I feel bad. Oh, don't feel bad. But the content you already put out, I feel like is like already so helpful, and it's there. So the fact that there's content still up is, I feel like, tremendously helpful. So I don't think you should feel bad at all. But at least it's possible that I'm just as autistic as schizotypy, but I'm pretty symptomatic for both. Yeah, it can be kind of difficult, I think, because like different schools of thoughts. But there's two I know that it can be difficult because they're overlapping. And then some people say that they're like, that at its core, they're kind of opposed. And then some people say they can coexist, so it's difficult. And also people saying like if schizotypal is more like developmental, than necessarily like personality disorder. So it is interesting. I'm like also like interest in like cyclothymia has a similar thing. Like some people believe it's more neurodevelopmental than like a mood disorder type of thing. So, I mean, yeah, arguably I fall into that as well. So, I've been diagnosed with like, no, I've never been diagnosed with it, but I've been diagnosed with like mood disorder, NOS, depression, and mixed anxiety depressive disorder before. I clicked on and it was the first message I saw. Yeah, that's somewhat of a focus on my channel because I have been diagnosed with schizotypal traits and features, and like that was the first thing that like focused on my mistrust of others, which before a lot of our experts had been ignoring, which I'm largely kind of ignoring. But yeah, I test uh like very high in anxiety and like mistrust or like paranoia. I don't know. I kind of think that that's like, yeah. Oftentimes when people hear paranoia, they use it as a way to dismiss people. But yeah, I come off like off when I test, I test like off the charts in that category. Well, Travis, I'll give you just one more example. Sign of schizotypy is sounding robotic and a characteristic anxiety, but guess what? That's exactly descriptive of autism spectrum. Yes, very true. That's what I was like talking about. It's they say like it can be hard to diagnose because the presentation is so similar. It's the same thing that they say with like bipolar and BPD, but specifically, especially cyclothymia and BPD, they say it can be very hard to tease apart. Yeah, because they are supposed to present basically the same, but the reasoning is different, and I think it's the same with schizotypal and autism. They'll say like some of the reasoning can be different, but the behaviors can just come off as very similar. One of my interest too is like how is like masking stuff and like autism and ADHD, and how your ability to adapt within society has a lot to do with the diagnosis. So whether or not people are the same at the core, and if it's about whether or not like if so basically essentially is masking essentially being neurotypical, because are the people who are diagnosed neurotypical essentially in a way masking, because like you're diagnosed in that's like in whether or not society could change for the better if people looked at like someone's more about people's core needs versus like how well someone's able to adapt in society, because I feel like that would be more aligned with people thriving than people scraping by as well and struggling but still able to get by. So yeah, I'm interested in like how do people's needs would be better met and what it really means to be like neurotypical and stuff like that. But yeah, cluster A isn't really talked about, or cluster C. I feel like all of it's cluster B, but I joined a Discord server of a YouTuber who's schizoid, and I liked it. I kind of wish like, and it's not exactly like everyone's welcome, so it's not exactly for me specifically, but like everyone's welcome. But it's more specifically for schizoid. But I do wish there would be more space for like clustering in general to kind of like talk about that experience. I think neurotypical changes over time, and it's between centuries, which makes it even harder. Yeah, I agree. But like I feel like it's the same with like with like different types of uh divergencies. I think though I feel like it's always been too much of kind of a vague nebulous term. And it's like, okay, so we say neurodivergence is not being neurotypical, but what is neurotypical, right? It's kind of like this elusive benchmark. So really, what neurotypical is really a lack of neurodivergence. So there's not really a clear, I feel like, benchmark. So it's like you're saying, we say like people are different, but different from what, I guess. Because another problem, I feel like, is a lot of the people who go into mental health fields, they cannot be the most kind of arguably typical. So a lot of times I feel like the default when you're kind of trying to decide if someone's neurotypical is to use yourself as a benchmark, so it can get confusing. It's tough because a lot of issues also map onto the emotional instability of people with borderline psychopathology, so I understand why it's linked to schizotypal. Yeah, that's understandable. I think a lot of stuff is linked to emotional instability. So much stuff. Really, I feel like so many diagnoses are, and I think part of that is because if you're struggling with something, I just think your stress goes up, and I just think so much of that has a tendency to lend itself to emotional instability. That's my opinion. A lot, I feel like, is just kind of, you're more likely to be overstressed. You're more likely to be in less than ideal circumstances. You're more likely to be misunderstood. So I feel like if you're, yeah, which is why I feel like so many diagnoses are linked to emotional instability, like anxiety, anything for anxiety, depression, even like learning disabilities like dyslexia are, I've heard, linked to emotional instability. But so I can understand where the confusion comes from, and then autism, of course. But yeah, for like emotional liability, like things I tend to hear most associated with it are like ADHD, autism, anxiety, like mania, cyclothymia, especially, of things. Atypical depression, so that's kind of like you're depressed but can like come out of it based on certain events. And then BPD, of course, is the main one. But bye Alpha. Thanks for watching. Bye Owen. Oh no, you're saying bye to someone else. But yeah, probably I think chances are if it's like cyclothymia. And then I have like had tics since I can remember, so probably like Tourette's, which been, some say I have that, or some say have thought maybe function FND or something like that. But that's also linked to emotional instability stuff, and like anger outbursts and stuff, which I can have a tendency to have. Is that? Oh, this is a bottle like cap. It's, I had another one that was smaller for my iced tea, and then I just grabbed this to fidget with. I think this specifically was from like artichokes. It's a Goya. I'm pretty sure it's from artichokes. From my smaller one that I use that I got with my iced tea is somewhere around here. But yeah, I click them for like stress basically. But I do. Oh, is that a pack of Zyn? Yeah, I've never. Those like nicotine pouches. I haven't gotten into them a lot. Really, I did have nicotine pouches once in a psych ward. Someone snuck nicotine patches, and I used some of them. Okay, so one time, this guy had nicotine pouches at the psych ward, and then another patient was like, "Hey, give me some of your nicotine pouches or whatever," and the guy was like, "No, I'm not gonna give them to you. You'll tell like the staff," and he's like, "No, I won't. And if you don't give them to me, I am gonna tell the staff." So the guy gives the other guy the nicotine pouch. He puts it in his mouth for 2 seconds, and I think and takes it out. I think this guy was a smoker. I think he had like got nicotine patches. So he takes it out of his mouth and he's like to the nurse, "I think I'm having a heart attack. I just had a nicotine pouch." So then the guy got the other guy like taken away. And then I was spitting it into like a coffee cup, and the nurse was like, "That's nicotine. I know it's nicotine." And I was like, "It is not nicotine." And I was like, this is just coffee." And she's like, "Oh yeah, drink it." So I pretended to drink it. And she's like, "No, you didn't actually drink it. Actually drink it." But yeah, at that point, the I think the other patient said his connection, the guy who was giving him nicotine pouches, ended up getting kicked. He didn't get in trouble really because it was just nicotine. But the guy who was giving it to him got like kicked out. He was in another part of the hospital. Like our hospital was a locked unit, and that was like partial plus. So it was like basically a partial hospital that they stayed at overnight. So they were like there voluntarily, but he got kicked out for like having harder drugs there, other like not just nicotine. But yeah, that was like, I don't know. Honestly, the psych ward that I got on the worst at is the psych ward that had like very frequent check-ins with us. I did terrible there. It's just like, I don't know, it felt like a chore. They would ask literally the same multiple times a day. They would ask the same questions. Like three staff members would or like twice a day in like morning and afternoon, a staff member would ask it, and then you'd get it asked from a psychiatrist and or a social worker. So and it was multiple times a day. They would say, "How's your appetite? How is your sleep? Are you experiencing any weird thoughts? Are you experiencing thoughts of like self-harm or harm of others or stuff like that?" Like literally like, "Oh, if that changes, will you go to staff?" It's like literally multiple times a day they ask these, and it's just it was such a chore, and I felt like so unnecessary to ask, like especially sleep, like to like ask someone to sleep, like 3 to 4 times a day, every single day, is so excessive. People generally only sleep once a day. You don't need to be asking that multiple times a day. But the one I did the best at was like one where they barely talk to you. Also too, I don't generally get tremendous benefit from psych drugs, but I did take I got minimal benefit from something trileptal or oxcarbazepine. So I think that helped, combined with the fact that they interacted with me minimally at that place, was the one I did the best at. Oh, so you haven't been to war like that in 4? Yeah, I haven't been in it quite a bit either. Probably about the same as you. They played CNN all day. So the story repeated 12 times while R.I.P. Harambe. Oh. Yeah, no, I can get that. My mom listened to like this neat kind of like local talk show, and she'd like and he would like literally repeat the same story over and over again. Like it was like, and she would keep it on, and she'd be like to me like, mind if I put on the news? And the news is honestly like more tolerable than that. It's like, oh yes, good, she's gonna actually put on the news and not that annoying talk show. But then she put on the talk show, and I was like, oh no. I thought she, you ever, can you please not ask about that? Thank you. I don't want to, I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. But yeah. Yeah, so it can be annoying too when you have to like have like psych words. One of them played music, which people said like, oh well, you can't listen to your own music. It was kind of nice in a way, although like they just played like popular like music and stuff that everyone likes, or not. I mean, generally people like, but I think some people were annoyed, understandably, because like they wanted like to have like their own device to play music, which yeah, I think it's kind of annoying that most places you can't have like your own music players there, or like a cell phone. Some places, some psych wards, and in other countries, a lot of them you can keep your phone. So in the U.S., honestly, like McLean I've had all kinds of issues with McLean, but McLean is one of the few you can keep your phone at. That, and if I ever went to another one, would probably be Mennegar. I think at Mennegar you can keep your phone. And Mennegar, I feel like, from what I've heard, is a lot better than McLean. In Canada, you're never allowed to keep your phone either. Yeah, in the US, you're very, very rarely allowed to keep your phone. It's a niche thing. In like England, from what I hear, and I mean, yeah, like in England, like you're generally allowed to keep your phone, from what I've heard. But in the U.S. and in Canada, I guess from what I've heard, you're generally not. In England, too, I think I heard they like I think they generally like put tape on your screen, so you can't like take pictures or anything, which makes sense. But yeah, in mine, the one I was at, they didn't have us do that or anything, because for like FaceTiming your family. But yeah, psych rights, I feel like that's a big problem, how like it's supposed to be meant to help you, but it takes away like so many of your basic rights for like non-criminals. I do feel like that's a huge problem. And to be honest, I'm even for criminals having a lot more rights. That's another thing that I'm for. But yeah, for psychiatric rights, it's just, I feel like, abhorrent. And so like with something like your phone, I feel like they should not be taking away people's phones in the name of helping them. I think what they should do, I think, is like have people ahead of time, like, hey, when you're struggling, would you like someone to be able to take your phone and like give it to you at like an agreed upon time? That would be a lot better. So like stuff like, I don't know if any of you like heard of like advanced stuff like advanced directives. I think that should be a lot more prominent in mental health instead of just taking it upon themselves to take away people's rights. I know, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is crazy that if you're deemed unfit, they get to take away your rights. I feel like you're in a double bind. Like with stuff like, I think for if you're found guilty of a crime, you're taken like at least that the idea is you're being punished, so you have a right to kind of defend to keep your rights. But like when you're deemed unfit, it's like, oh well, they like you're not even taken seriously when you're in the way that you should be able to defend your rights because it's deemed to be for your own good. So yeah, it's a double bind, and I feel like it's incredibly unfair. And it's for people who really haven't even committed a crime on top of that. But yeah, so many people like don't go in for like stuff that I feel like they could be mitigated. Another thing too is like with the smoking, like a lot of people don't go, some of the reasons why some people don't go into psych wards is for smoking. And like they had taken that away like for a while back in the US. I think maybe they even have taken it away at this point in England. I don't know. I heard people like a few years ago, someone I used to talk to who I think would still smoking in the UK hospital. But for smoking, another thing about that is a lot of times people use nicotine to combat the adverse effects of antipsychotics. And I've even heard experts talk about how smoking can counteract some of the adverse effects. So like a lot of times it's pretty messed up that they'll come in, they'll be forced into nicotine withdrawal, and on top of that, some of them will have upped their antipsychotics, and also a lot of what they use to combat the side effects of antipsychotics are taken away. And of course, they're at a more distressing time in their life, and they're getting their cigarettes taken away at the same time. And yeah, people say, oh, well, they give you nicotine patches and gum. Like, that's... Like, imagine if you just went into people, like, in their everyday life, like, and said that to people who weren't in psych hospitals. In a word, allowed to be outside for 1.5 weeks. It's on a 100% strike. just to be allowed 30 minutes outside every day. Oh. Oh, and so they eventually let you go outside. But yeah, that's super messed up that you weren't ever allowed to go outside. But did you at least get to go outside? I think that's what you're saying after your hunger strike? You were allowed to go out 30 minutes outside every day? Yeah, they eventually let me out after my strike. Out every day outside alert. After the strike. Well, I'm sorry you had to go to that extreme measure to be able to go outside, but I'm glad you were able to go outside. Yeah, so I went to this weird psych hospital at one point, which is like the only psych hospital that allowed smoking. And you could go out for like, they only allowed you to go out for like during their smoke breaks. You could go out for like, I feel like 5 minutes. You just get out there. You barely had time to smoke 1 or 2 cigarettes. And then they would say, okay, time's up, let's go in. But also, too, like some people too would just like go outside to get fresh air. But most of the people would smoke. They had, you went out, it was weird. It was like in an office building or something. So when you went outside, you literally just went outside into this parking lot. It was so weird. Weirdest hospital I've been to. But yeah, my best one, they barely interacted with me, and then I got Trileptal, which was pretty good. It was minimally effective, and I didn't become tolerant to it too rapidly, so it wasn't like terribly helpful, but overall it was like one of the best ones I've had when you looked at it as a whole. Although they were pretty bad in some ways. So like I'd be there and like a psychiatrist would like come up to me and be like, "Oh, Kayla, how are you doing? Whatever." And I'd be like, I'm like having bad nausea meds and they haven't given me my nausea meds back yet. Could I get those?" And they're like, "Oh, you have to talk to the medical doctor about it." And then I said, I reached out to the nurses. Like, I talked to the nurses. The nurses said they reached out to the medical doctor, and the medical doctor still isn't coming up to see me. And then they were just like, "Okay, are you having any thoughts of harming yourself or others?" And I'd be like, "Oh, no." And they'd be like, "Okay, bye," and just leave. But that was still one of the better ones I've been to. They actually specifically said good things about when my mom came to get me on my discharge. They actually said good things about me. I don't think any other place's psych hospital has ever said positive things about me. So yeah. Minimal interaction, ironically, has been the best to me. But yeah, also I definitely would say Trileptal also had helped with me having no issues really when I was there. It's like an anticonvulsant that's also prescribed off-label for like mood and like irritability and stuff. Yeah, I don't know how anyone had much experience with psych meds. Mine's haven't been terribly positive. They've been mostly neutral to negative. And a lot negative too. I've just had Seroquel as a punishment. Ooh. Yeah. That's so messed up. I don't like how they give these meds out for punishment. Super messed up. Yeah, I haven't been on things. I've had bad experience with this generally with the mental health field, so I tend to avoid it. So I also haven't really been. It's like since I was very young. I generally haven't been on things long term. But I haven't had great experience with Seroquel. I feel like it made me, and a lot of the atypicals I feel like make me very antsy. And kind of have a negative mood. I was very distrusting, but in hindsight, I wish I was more open to trying some. Oh, I mean, that makes sense. But, I mean, yeah, something, yeah, you can consider and, like, look into, like, them, and also certain, nootropics may be worth kind of considering to you. They can be I find they can be pretty minimally effective, but at the same time, they definitely are somewhat helpful in my experience. So the problem I think is standardization. I've heard it can be easy for like them to be mislabeled because being like not FDA approved, they're just able to get away with that. L-theanine is like I think is one of the more decent ones. I was supposed to have L-theanine delivered today, but my mailroom was like so crowded it wasn't even funny. So I like looked. I finally got my card though. I've been having to reorder and like not getting like lost and then finding one of them, and then it's been expired. So I finally was able to get that set up a card because right now, since they stopped allowing the card I was using to be transferred from PayPal to that, I stopped using it. It was also kind of annoying. I was charged a maintenance fee, including when I wasn't even using it. So I stopped using that card basically. And the only money I had was through PayPal. So now I finally got like a physical card that hopefully I'm going to be able to load money on. Yeah, yeah. It's messed up though that they use meds as a punishment. But it's understandable too if you would be distrustful if you were punished with using meds. I feel like that's something they don't seem to get. But yeah. Is there anything specific you would want meds for? Specifically, if you don't mind answering. Obviously, don't feel pressure to. But yeah, I've had for stuff like my main problem probably would be anxiety, and I find anything that's been helpful for my anxiety generally like more like sedated and numbed me, and then I became to that was a way to help my anxiety, and then I became super tolerant super quickly. So these days I'm pretty good. I just have trouble with motivation. Oh, motivation, focus, neglect. Yeah, I find kind of it's for me. I can get that, but it's more like kind of a lot tied to like sometimes like procrastination and hopelessness. I feel like hopelessness and anxiety. A lot of it is tied to that, but because it's but yeah, I find my focus can be like sometimes I'll just like be motivated and doing things is like tremendously easy. Sometimes it's like dragging my feet, but also focus. I feel like generally focus is my main problem. I have been diagnosed with ADHD and attentiveness before, but yeah, I don't know. Um, if I do, I feel like it's there's it overlap attention problems come overlap with like so many different things like, but if I do have it, maybe it's on the milder side. But honestly, I did find Trileptal had slight benefit on focus, but it's not one of my main issues. I did find it maybe slightly helpful in that area. Okay. Oh, question, I guess. I have a set of thoughts that intrude on me, and I don't know what to do about it, but accept that I'm naturally for hunting for a threat. Huh. Yeah. I feel like. Yeah, feeling like you're in danger or like intrusive thoughts. These are both experiences I have as well. I don't know. I'm not sure the best way to help them. For like intrusive thoughts, I feel like some of them like that are more it's difficult. Some of the more intrusive thoughts I feel like that are sometimes a bit more um ego dystonic. I feel like are it's a lot different than the more egocentric ones. But like stuff like worrying about being in harm's way, I feel like part of me feels like that's a sensible thing to do. So also it's kind of like, but when I was more religious, I used to get all kinds of like intrusive thoughts around religion that were like ego dystonic. So yeah, it was very difficult for me as well, and I had some like religious coprolalia as well. Like so yeah, different like religious symptoms like related to like Tourette's and OCD type things when I was younger. But now I'm not very religious. I still do have like feel like I on some subconscious level I might have it because I feel very uncomfortable like a lot of times sometimes when religion comes up, and I feel like that might be like a trauma thing. And also too, it's I feel like hardwired onto me like having like using God's name in vain because it still comes up like a tick sometimes. So I feel like on some subconscious level, it's like hardwired into me as like a taboo thing. Yeah, I have heard, so like I think, yeah, Velvet Bean. So I had something called Velvet Bean that was like in a drink I had that was like made with kava. It's called psychedelic water. But I think so that might be something to look into as well, because that's supposed to um, raise your dopamine. And L-tyrosine, I tried some of that recently. I'm not sure I noticed much, but yeah, I've tried that. L-theanine also can be good as well. I've heard it can help with focus. Velvet Bean. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Velvet. Yeah, there's a drink that's called psychedelic water, and it has kava in it and Velvet Bean. Yeah, I hadn't heard of it either. I mostly um either my brother got it for me before. But I forget if I tried it first, I got it first, or my brother was the one to give it to me first. But yeah, that's where I first tried it. No, I think I saw the psychedelic water and I was like, the name intrigued me, and I knew it wasn't going to be anything like a legit psychedelic, but I think I just bought it out of pure curiosity, and I like didn't necessarily think it was going to do anything. But yeah, it kind of it was a bit relaxing, and I think it uplifted my mood a little bit. I live in Colombia now, so I've gotten into cocoa tea. It's nice, not sure if it's sustainable though. Oh, so like like leaves, the cocoa leaves. I've recently heard about people chewing them for like energy. And I've been a bit interested to try it. Yeah, I don't know much. Yeah, I think like tolerance and stuff is like I think it's like less bad as far as that's concerned than refined like cocaine, but I still think that can be somewhat of an issue from the little bit I've heard. It's like coffee but different. IDK. I'm not into coffee anymore. I worry taking stimulants daily is just a bad idea. That's good. That makes sense. Yeah, coffee is a fascinating one too, because it's like it affects a lot different receptors than like other stimulants. It's like Edison blocker, but also, so when I was studying nutrition for a little bit, um, I had learned that some people are caffeine like sensitive and slow metabolizers, and some people are fast metabolizers, and apparently that's very highly correlated to whether or not caffeine is heart healthy for you or heart damaging for you. So that was the first time. I had always kind of thought caffeine was just across the board not good for your heart health. But yeah, if you react badly to caffeine too, it's probably best to stay away from it. But yeah, I like it mixed with L-theanine pretty good. I do I thought maybe it would be good to like also to see if L-tyrosine or something could be a caffeine replacement, because some people also have that with L-theanine, but yeah, I can have two like sporadic energy patterns from like sleeping a lot to not very rarely. I feel like usually my sleep schedule is a bit unusual, but I usually sleep pretty normal amounts. Sometimes I'll be like up for like 2 days, 3 days at the most, and sometimes I'll like sleep for like over 12 hours for like a like couple days or a few days most. But yeah, I'd like. It's also interesting too how they used to have cocoa leaves and Coca-Cola as well. But yeah, I heard the cocoa leaves are a lot more kind of similar to caffeine, because like people than like the refined cocaine people generally think of. Yeah, that have soda with cocoa in here, energy drink would be neat if Coca-Cola did a run of cocoa in it. Cocoa leaves are much less intense than cocaine. Yeah, that's what I've heard. But I've heard like recently of people going other places and trying cocoa leaves. But yeah, I had a friend from Colombia who was adopted there when she was a baby. Her name was Lady, and my cousin was visiting me one day, and she was she was like in my apartment building. So I walked by her and I go, "Hey, Lady." My cousin was like, "Oh wow, I thought you just referred to some random woman as Lady." It's kind of funny. But yeah, I guess that's like a pretty common name there. But what's it like moving to another country? Also, what country were you in before, if you don't mind me asking? It's very scary here. A lot of crime, and I don't. Yeah, that's difficult. Intimidating but beautiful. I was in Canada. Oh yeah, yeah, you said that. Before it was too expensive to live there, but I think I will get used to it. I've been here just a few weeks. Yeah, um, that would be, I can't imagine going to another country and not speaking the language very well. Brittany Simon talks about that. I don't watch her a ton, but I mean, at least too. I mean, she moved with her husband, so I can't imagine moving some. That would be even harder, moving somewhere on your own and not speaking the language well. Aw, I'm sorry. I know, like, a lot of places, English is one of the easier ones, and I mean, depending on how, but I think especially if you're not in very touristy areas, though, too, it can be pretty difficult. But a lot of countries, I think, have it as like a automatic second language they learn. But yeah. So like, what's it like specifically there about people knowing English? Basically, no one knows English. Sometimes they'll know basic like numbers and thank you. Oh, that's like very minimal. So it's like not even enough to like maybe get like basic directions or like order like food, or say like where can you eat, or like where's a bathroom, or like where's like hospital. Kayla, I think you are evidence of why cluster A isn't often diagnosed to females. You are completely responsive and sensitive to your audience, and it's good. Oh, thank you. You're correct, but I know enough Spanish to do stuff like ordering Esta Albana bathroom. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I feel like a lot of places know like enough English where people like can get away with it. But yeah, I can't imagine like still trying to live there. In Mexico, they know much more English. Yeah, that makes sense. Did you like see the seesaws on the Mexican border? I like recently like came across it on my feed. It's pretty cool that people like in Mexico and the US, kids can go there and like go on opposite sides of the seesaw between the fence. But yeah, I do think cluster A, it seems to be rarely diagnosed at all, which so when I was younger, interestingly enough, they diagnosed me with Asperger at one point, and then that's been debated. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people who there's like saying people diagnosed with ASD might actually be like cluster A, because I heard they can be very easy to diagnose as one another, and like cluster A might be diagnosed with autism sometimes, but like cluster A I think is like generally not on people's radar as much. I don't even think I've ever been tested for it at all. I mean, I got my, like, before, I got evaluated for, like, specifically personality disorders in general. Like, I specifically went in to, but, like, generally in the psych wards, and, like, when I went in to, like, get neuropsychological testing when I was younger, well, yeah, they don't diagnose it in kids, and like, generally, so that makes sense, but in, like, the psych wards, they tested me for a ton of things, and I don't think they ever even considered that. But yeah, I think in the US, a lot of personality disorder research um either tends to go towards BPD or ASPD. I feel like basically all the research has generally gone to that. Because so in more medical settings, they generally BPD is what they're focused on, and then in forensic settings, they focus a lot more on like antisocial personality disorder. And then you might be interested to hear the first time I met someone who is utterly schizoid, who was an older woman who was almost totally vacant, but could still shop for groceries. Yeah, I've heard, yeah, that makes sense. Like, because I heard schizoid is like being on like the schizophrenia spectrum, on like the most mildest form. And I think they tend to be associated with more like negative symptoms. So, like, when it's very severe, I think it tends to like look like someone with very negative types of symptoms of like schizophrenia. And then I'm not sure how accurate this is, but I heard schizotypal tends to be more mixed of positive and negative, and then just paranoid personality disorder tends to be more associated with more of the positive symptoms. Although I also heard that it's debated whether paranoid is kind of really generally on the schizo spectrum. So, like, the presence of another person seemed to not register. So, possibly insipid schizotypal or schizophrenia, yeah. Schizotypal is, like, generally, I think, one of the symptoms, one of the ones that's most associated with, like, schizophrenia. It's the least debated whether it's on the schizophrenia spectrum. And then schizoid. And then I think you mentioned it too, I'm pretty sure. Avoidant personality disorders being on the schizo spectrum. Even though it's like cluster C. Yeah, avoidant is considered. Yeah. I've recently heard about that too. Because I've also been looking to see, like, if anyone else is talking about cluster A or cluster C. It'd be interesting to talk to them. Because, yeah, all I see is stuff on basically cluster B when I look for personality disorders. But yeah, one of the things I was hoping for my community is to create more of a space for like Cluster A in general to talk about our experiences. I think avoidant just seems so hopeful generally, but they have to have the pathological avoidance, which probably isn't all that different from schizotypal. Yeah, I can see similarities. I've heard it described as like on like the very severe end of social anxiety disorder. But that's like one of the other ones that like I feel like maybe is sometimes diagnosed as like quiet BPD at times, but I think that's like the tendency to want to diagnose a lot of things with like BPD, because there's been an influx in focus on BPD lately. So I do wonder if some of the people who get diagnosed with quiet BPD are more close to avoidant PD as well. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like I was probably more schizotypy like than when I was younger. Like I was more like superstitious and had more like unusual fears and like religious beliefs. I don't know how much of that maybe is like maybe I was just prone to that, or how much of that is like just related to being a kid. I don't know. Plus it's hard because like the older I got, kind of the less I became that way. So. Maybe I saw someone list personality disorders with the worst quality of life, and they put avoidant on the top since they just sort of accept that people are abusive and take the abuse. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I've heard different people say different things. I heard generally, I think cluster C tends to be considered the kind of the less severe, but I've also heard like schizoids generally can do okay in the world. They just tend to be very isolated. But that's like a lot of them just get no attention virtually, pretty much. I think one of the ones I think I tend to hear about even less than like is paranoid personality disorder. I generally don't hear about that like pretty much at all, I think. Although I did hear that they might have a tendency to be misdiagnosed as like schizophrenia or borderline, depending on which shows up more, like the suspiciousness or like the hostility. Yeah, that's very true. Good luck getting cluster A. Accept that. I think specifically probably those of us with like more like schizotypal and on paranoid too. Schizoid, yeah, schizoid I guess in a sense, because they're kind of more like very private. So but so it's interesting. Paranoid personality disorder has been on my radar since about like 19. When I was like 19, I was told, I think by my mom, oh, a doctor said you have borderline, which I hadn't heard of. Or I was like, no, I think was I like 17? I think she told me. I think they said that when I was like 17. So I was like, oh, I went online to do a personality disorder quiz. And I was like, I didn't look into the symptoms yet because I didn't want my answers to kind of be influenced by that. So I took the test and I got like 99.988% likelihood of paranoid personality disorder. So at first, my first instinct was like, what? I'm not paranoid, because like generally, I mean, I'd been called that even by friends. In like high school, my like friends had called me paranoid even. Like it wasn't even said in like a mean way to like tease me or anything. It was just like general like said. But and then I like looked at the description and I was like, okay, like I guess like the behaviors and the thoughts do fit. So like arguably, yeah. And it's like supposed to be egosyntonic, so that I guess is another argument that it fits. But I was like worried. I was worried like, oh, if people see this though, they're probably not gonna take me as seriously. Generally, if I get labeled as this. But then nobody labeled me as that ever. No one even brought it up to me. My psychologist thought I had paranoid personality disorder too. Ooh, interesting. I feel like the experts I've seen have like never even heard of it. Generally, no one brings it up to me. But I did get it on the online test. I got like off the charts in it. But my last test, I got the schizotypal from self-referential ideas and like suspiciousness and isolation. And I did score somewhat hostility. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I probably fit it. Well, we are looking for aggressors. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No one's even, yeah. So, it's interesting. I wonder if, like, where you live, that there's more awareness of it, or just that psychologist, but where I am, like, no one's aware of it, generally. Like, cluster A's. I feel like it's so off their radar. And I went to get, like, personality tested, because at first, I've been reluctant to try to get a diagnosis like that, but then I just was like, being in the mental health system and being so like misunderstood, I figured at least if there's some bias against me for something, at least it might be something that better aligns with my thoughts and motivations, so maybe at least I won't be so profoundly misunderstood, and that could at least maybe help a little bit. So I feel like a lot of the problems stem from like a lot of being misunderstood. but where I'm also there's like an insane amount of focus on borderline personality disorder. So I have to go. Oh, well, it's nice talking to you. Thanks for stopping by. Good night. Conventional psychologists in my area are more likely to label it as thought disorder. Yeah. I think depending ICD too, I think has it a lot more in the camp of thought disorder than DSM does. Like it's more considered on the schizo spectrum as well as like other PDs versus DSM. I think it's more considered just a standard personality disorder. But yeah, I heard for cluster A, I heard that a lot of them tend to either get misdiagnosed as like having a traditional thought disorder or having like autism spectrum or BPD as well. Some of them get. I think particularly paranoid personality disorder, it can tend to, they say, diagnose a lot with BPD, misdiagnosed as BPD. And then schizoid, I think they say tends to get misdiagnosed with autism a lot. And then schizotypal, I think maybe all of them, and also I hear they can be the most likely to get kind of misdiagnosed as like schizophrenia. I think paranoids have a splitting mechanism. Yeah, it's interesting. I got said to have so on my testing, they basically they gave me like all these tests at one of the psych wards, and I came up like as like positive for like a ton of different things, except I came up negative for borderline, but for some reason they wanted to diagnose me with borderline, so they like most of what they diagnosed me with was like hearsay, and one of the things they listed was splitting, predominantly devaluing. So I was talking about it with Gemini, and it on like why I think that's inaccurate, and it was saying that like to label something as splitting, predominantly devaluing, kind of takes away from the like frame of splitting, because it's meant to be like you're black and white thinking, all or nothing, that type of thing. So it just kind of is misapplying. And you can also label like anybody with any type of criticism as that, but yeah. I tended to get split on a lot when I was younger, so I feel like as a defense mechanism, I kind of started to learn to like think more nuanced and stuff. But people have a tendency to still think, to sometimes say I like in black and white. I think because I have a tendency to like have strong opinions, but yeah. Yeah, I think some like claim like paranoid personality disorder, the legitimacy of it. I mean, because it's, I think there's like two metrics, I think, generally that's standard for it. It's like mistrust and hostility. So, but I don't know. I don't know why that's considered any more illegitimate than the other personality disorders, but that's what I've heard. I've heard it argued, and I don't think it tends to be diagnosed a lot. I think, too, there's like, it's like impossible to find an expert on it before. Because I like have had such bad experiences with the mental health field, and I like test very high. I have like sought out experts in it, and I can't find like any who advertise specializing in it. So what I did was I went to Google Scholar, and I looked up people who wrote papers on it, and I tried to contact them, like asking, hey, what do you recommend for people with this? And the people either didn't answer me, or they were not very helpful in their responses. One guy had said initially that he would find people in my area. I like ended up contacting him on like Facebook on his page, and he on WhatsApp he said he would look for experts in my area and try to like give me some names, but then he left me on red and he never got back to me. But yeah, it does seem like there's not a lot of help in cluster A. Hinsub, do like what things do they generally recommend you the most for like helping? Okay, yeah. I hope my chat's not messed up. It's okay if you're just like, don't feel rushed, but yeah, I'm just worried. It went out the other day, and I didn't know, and I thought people just like weren't like commenting. So like, oh, that's okay. People aren't commenting right now, but. And then I saw on Discord that it had gone out for some reason. But yeah, well, my psychologist was trying to get me to imagine stop signs for fighting with Trump. Ah. That's yeah. I forget I've heard some similar stuff. Not necessarily imagining stop signs, but like to pause, to try to pause, to think about things. Like along those same lines, that I feel like is somewhat helpful. I like have trouble like imagining things in my mind's eye. I think I might have astigmasia or something. But yeah, I feel like that could be a very helpful tip perhaps for some people, especially if they can picture things. But yeah, I do. So there's one guy who wrote a book about, like, called LEAP, and it's something like an acronym: listen, empathize, and like apologize, agree, and partner. It's like a different thing to like communicate with people, and he did it mainly for like either talking to people with like psychosis, with like diagnosed anosognosia, which I have like mixed thoughts on, and also with like, I think his first one was to do with like more like general communication and maybe like business. So I use that a lot to I sometimes use that to like communicate with people. Particularly, yeah, so I've used it when I've had challenging interactions with people I was dealing with the psychiatric system with like some type of help. I do wonder if that specific thing could be useful for people with like cluster A type stuff, particularly schizotypal and paranoid personality disorders, and probably like other personality disorders as well, who can like have a tendency to have like conflicts, maybe like borderline, maybe even perhaps like narcissism. I don't know. But I have thought about that to like consider as a good treatment for cluster A and like schizotypal and paranoid PD. I've met some people in like the Discord, like schizotypal, and like the schizo spectrum server, I think, who's, or no, I've not actually, have I met them? No, I've seen them type, who've been diagnosed with like paranoid. I feel like when I searched it, a lot of them were like gone, but I've seen some of them there. But I mostly see people diagnosed with schizotypal or schizoid than paranoid personality disorder. Do you find that true also, Hinsug? That seems like very rarely you meet people who are diagnosed. It's possible I'm a narcissist, so I'm a little worried about talking to females. Yeah. Oh. I wonder, honestly, when I was younger, I feel like, so from what I understand is like kids have a tendency to be more narcissistic by nature, because I was also split on a lot. I think that part is part of why I feel like I may have like crossed the line of normal, like kids' tendency to narcissism, but I also don't necessarily think it would be appropriate to diagnose me at that point. But yeah, I think I could have very easily ended up going down the path of having like significant narcissism as an adult. Some people would argue I do, but I don't. I would say I don't think so. And it's never been suggested, but then again, I feel like narcissism rarely is suggested to people. And usually they're diagnosed with borderline. And people say men are disproportionately diagnosed with narcissism, which I'm not sure. I think generally it's just not diagnosed, in my opinion, but I don't know. If anything, probably I could see men who would argue would fit borderline would be more diagnosed with bipolar, which I heard happens, and maybe even with like, they might even be more likely to be diagnosed as like ADHD. But yeah. I think narcissism is pretty rarely diagnosed, but stability is the goal. Yeah, I think peace of mind probably for me. I think, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's possible. I don't think my instability tends to be the main issue, although I do kind of want to be somewhat related. I do kind of want to be able to kind of have some kind of act in ways very consistently that align with like my values and stuff and how I want to be. I feel like, but yeah, I mean, a bit unstable probably. Like I said, I probably fall kind of into cyclothymia, but more like Gurdjieff. I feel like a lot of that type of thing, which is like aligning like the many eyes and like your different fleeting desires and how they align with like your ultimate kind of aim and like how you want to be and stuff. But I will say stable in terms of like having like a stable plan and stuff and like my needs met. But I think, do you mean more like mood and like, I guess like mood and stuff, or like do you mean more like in a general sense kind of stability? Oh, peace of mind. That might be at odds with human condition, but mindfulness does its job. Yeah. I feel like, yeah. Gurdjieff, one of the things, like, he focuses on is meditation as well. Which, among other things, so perhaps, like, I'd get more into that. I did go to one Sufi center that talked about, that, had meditation, because I've heard, I don't know if you've heard that, but I heard for cluster A, they more recommend RODBT than DBT, so I was looking for RDBT and having trouble. But then I heard RODBT is based more on Sufism, and then versus DBT that's based more on Buddhism. So I went to a Sufi center, and it was pretty cool. They had like, we meditated, and you had guided meditations, and at the end of it, they gave us plant-based soup. So, I don't know. Are you into any meditation at all, Hinsuk? Yeah, I've like maybe found it a bit helpful, but I do find like diaphragm breathing to be decently helpful, I guess. Not terribly. I failed, especially at SSRIs. Oh yeah, SSRIs. I don't know if I can't tell if they had like negative effects or not really effect. Well, actually, I guess the only one I tried generally is Prozac, I think. And then I tried Remeron, which was horrible. I had terrible, super dysphoric and antsy. But yeah, I found Trileptal a bit helpful, but I don't know. As far as my moods, I don't think it necessarily did that good. It did help a little bit with like slowing, I think, kind of like the fight or flight type anger responses. But yeah, I think. Yeah, Prozac, I think, is oftentimes the one they go to. I think I saw it in your video. I forget if I saw you talk about it in your videos, but I had a psychiatrist who thought I was classic OCD. But good lord, I'm pretty sure it amplified my depression. I've heard that. Yes, I've heard um it causing like depression in people who take them for like either worsening depression or like causing it in people who took it for unrelated issues to depression, becoming depressed. But yeah, OCD is one of the things that's been thrown around for me. I think I've heard, yeah, and I heard like it tends to be one of the things that gets flagged too when they give you like a battery of like different assessments. Had a ton of people who said like, oh, yeah, I got, they said I had OCD, and I'm not sure. I never considered myself OCD. I don't think it fits, but that's one of the things that, like, I think I've heard a few people, like, I've heard, like, so many people get flagged for. Oh, welcome back. But yeah, I think, yeah, SSRIs tends to be, I think, generally the first line treatment for OCD. That and, like, exposure response. I do think perhaps maybe I'm a bit of, like, Tourette OCD. I don't know. It's like not even officially recognized. Yeah, OCD is a horrific thought trap, like schizotypy. Yeah, yeah, true. I heard it can be confusing whether someone has schizotypal or OCD because they can overlap a lot. But yeah, I probably had more types. I don't know. I probably met the criteria for that when I was a kid, but I don't know if I technically do now. It's weird. Like, different things. I used to, like, more like, kind of like Tourette OCD stuff. Like, when I, like, was, like, I used to, like, sometimes feel like if I went somewhere, I wanted to go backwards, like, the same exact way to, like, undo it or something. And then when my cousin said, like, if you step on the crack, you'll break your mother's back. And I, like, didn't think it was true. But just in case, I still didn't avoided stepping the cracks. And I think that led to, like, me, like, doing other things. I don't know if this was related. Like, I remember at the mall, my mom used to get, like, super annoyed with me. Because, like, they had this, like, one pattern where it was, like, all kinds of triangles and this and that. And I felt this, like, compulsion to, like, only step on the triangles and not step on other things. But, like, I don't think she knew what I was doing. And, like, I don't think I ever like thought to explain it or anything. I just felt like for some reason had a compulsion to do it. But I don't think I necessarily felt like anything bad was gonna happen if I didn't. I don't know. It's hard to remember too. But no, but a lot of though, and then I had like different religious like intrusive thoughts and stuff. Probably a lot related to like corporalia. Which is like connected, I think, to like religious OCDs and like always like connected to tics and like Tourette's and stuff and like harm. Which yeah, I think I get some of those types. But I don't know, they feel kind of fleeting maybe. What are you watching? Anything good? Hey, you're live. Cool. Oh, hey. Yeah, I've been live like oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to. It's nice. I enjoy live. I've never really tried it before. So, it's good. I do find it I find it to be a lot more natural than trying to like talk on the phone to myself when I'm recording a video. Thoughts on the Darius and Cena situation? I just saw that. I feel like yeah, that is it's abhorrent really. I can't believe like I don't from like what I saw, I don't like know like why he seemed to like become so violent so quick, and I just think I can't see any reason why that could be justified. So yeah, two people, two like content creators who've had like an on again, off again. I don't follow them super closely. There's been recently a video coming out where the guy Darius was very violent to his girlfriend. I didn't even know they were back together until now, but Xena or like so and like kicked her off a bed at one point. He like she was on the phone and he didn't want her to have a phone, so he like put her in a hold to take her phone away. That was unbelievable. Do you have any updated info on like on how they're doing? Justical is going over the VOD right now. Oh, okay. Yeah, since I've only recently, I like randomly got notified that I was allowed back on Gisticles. So is Cherry not on Gisticles? Like, did she leave? So she left? Did they like have a falling out? Or I feel like, I mean, I feel like they kind of had fallings out before, so I guess it makes sense. But usually she comes back pretty quickly. So. I think I like Kelly's server maybe a bit better than Gisticles. Although the one thing Gisticles, which I haven't felt any wanted to do, but the VCs can kind of be cool sometimes, which Kelly Jean's VCs I think are a lot less active than Gisticles. So that's the one thing that's kind of cool about it. Hinsug, I don't know if you've been on Discord ever, but it's cool. It's kind of like, it's like very, I feel like it's the text part of it is very similar to Reddit, and then it's as an added bonus of like being able to video chat, or if you don't want to go on video, you can just go with your camera off. And a lot of people go with have their cameras off and just voice chat, which is cool. But I feel like it's very similar to Reddit in a lot of ways. A lot of Discord servers I find out through Reddit. I actually found out about a couple of servers, I think either one or two, through your subreddit. So that was cool. The Schizotypal Abyss one I did, and maybe this, I feel like the Schizo Spectrum one. I forget if I heard about that one there or somewhere else. So I heard Destiny got, is that true? Did it, like, I wasn't sure if like people were like memeing or whatever. Did Destiny actually say anything on it? Because I think I heard one like, at one point an AI of like one of those text to speak was Destiny. But I haven't yeah, I only recently heard about that, so I like looked into it a little bit on Ryle's channel, which, yeah, Ryle, so obnoxious. Yeah, to be honest, I went at it at Emery. Emery kind of recently, I don't know if you know who that is, but he's like somewhat connected to Ryle. I went out at him in a while, and I was like, okay, maybe someone that was misplaced. Because Ryle was like trying to like milk me and stuff. But Ruben, do you know Ryle? Like Ryle Kittenhouse? It's like the laziest, I feel like the laziest content on YouTube. Like, just like clip farming, solely clip farming. I mean, people used to complain about the reaction channels, but at least the reaction channels were adding something. Like, I don't know. I feel like lately, like the clip farming has been like, I feel like so unoriginal and just annoying. I've seen his videos once in a while. Yeah, he like has like all these videos that just is like clip farming. It's like all clips put together. It's like not even, no commentary on his part. But I mean, it is kind of, I guess, for like Gisticle's content particularly, or stuff on like other platforms, because Gisticle's banned from YouTube. But like, I don't know, it's just like, when he does it to Brittany Simon's videos especially, I'm like, that's like one of them I can think of. It's like, this is incredibly pointless because Brittany Simon is literally on YouTube. So when he does it to like, at least when he does it to like Twitch stuff or like TikTok or something, maybe he or Kick. If he did it to one of those, I could see it, because if someone doesn't have those, it could be convenient to watch on YouTube at least. But yeah, overall, yeah, he's a shit stirrer, like, for sure. And it's like, I went off on Emery. I feel like a lot of what I did was like because of what he did, but also was just like, I don't know. He had me go on Queemans once, and I was like, okay, this Ryle guy is like, do I trust it? But I was like, whatever. So I almost didn't go on his waiting room, but then click farming is horrible, but it produces click hole, and nothing better than click hole. Impersonating dead queens with dementia? But yeah. I almost did not go on his Queemans, but then he was like, oh, he wants to interview about Kyla, and I was like, oh, okay, fine. Like, I guess I'll go on, and like, if he has specific questions to ask about her, because I've had issues with her, but I also wasn't sure if he was telling the truth, but I figured Queeman just wouldn't pull me in if like he was like making it up. But then Queeman pulls me in, and he's like, hi Kayla, what do you want? And I was like, well, oh, you didn't be sorry. You didn't do anything wrong. Not gonna lie, I don't completely understand that, but don't be sorry. No, you're fine. I didn't want to admit it, to be honest, but yeah. Okay, so oh, hi Hinsuk. But yeah, you're welcome anytime, and yeah, it was really nice having you here. So if you want to sign off, then go for it. Of course, don't feel like you said anything wrong or feel like you have to sign off. But yeah, that guy, yeah, so I went in and I was like, okay, I was willing to interview about Kyla. And then he was like, no, I didn't ask for you to come on. And then I was like, do you have anything to say? And like, I have a ton of stuff to say about Kyla, okay? I'm sure a lot of you know that. Or less so now. I don't really think about her as much anymore, but like, I guess I do kind of, but it's like, so I guess maybe I probably do. Well, I guess I have a lot of opinions still. I just don't think about her as much. So I have a ton to say about her, but like, I don't want to speak off the cuff. Does that make sense? So it's like, I was willing to kind of go spur of the moment to like be interviewed about Kyla, but I didn't want to speak off the cuff about her, if that makes any sense. So I kind of just was like, oh no, I mean, sorry for the misunderstanding. And he goes, no, you're all good, Kayla. See you later. But yeah, I kind of knew Ryle was messing with me. And then Ryle sent me like recently an invite to like this server, and it was like, and I have a tendency to join like servers out of curiosity alone. I kind of stopped that because after a weird experience. But yeah, the last I went on to like, so I was like, but I went to to the server. He invited me just to the VC specifically, which annoys me. I like don't like getting invited to a VC and not the general server, because I don't like to just hop into a VC that I don't know what it is. But at the same time, I was very curious. So sometimes what I do is I'll go into the VC that I'm invited to and immediately click out of it, so I can quench my curiosity and see what it's about without having to like be in the VC. So that's what I did, and basically I found out that like, so I missed a call. So at first I thought it was a private call, like I think, or he did, no, I think he invited me and then he tried to private call me. So that also had my curiosity increased. So it was like, why in the hell is Ryle Kittenhouse trying to send me a private Discord call? So then I went to the VC, and then luckily the stream was over, but I had already gone there, and I had gone there and I clicked out of the VC to see what it was about, and I realized it was Emery's server. So I just started like going off on Emery, because I think we had kind of gone at it a bit like recently, but like I was just like pretty annoyed at that point, because like I was like, okay, you're farming me for content, and also too, like, it's like, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I do sometimes in a way like not mind it if it's gonna be increase traction to my channel. But at the same time, I don't know if I should be doing that, because I don't know if that's the direction I want my channel to go into. And it's like, I might be able to tolerate being farmed and like kind of antagonized a bit to further maybe to get more viewers on my channel. But at the same time, if I'm gonna be like farmed on like Emery's channel, like, I mean, yeah, it's like, I feel like not worth it, because it's just like, I feel like it's not gonna help my channel get any more viewerships. So I mean, actually Emery is fine, actually, whatever. I wouldn't mind going on Emery's channel without I probably wouldn't want to go on it with Ryo. Maybe if Saxon 7 was there, I might. If Saxon 7 was there, fine, I guess. And even Emery without Saxon 7 now, I wouldn't mind. If it was just Ryo yeah, I would be very hesitant to want to go on with Ryo anyways. Just like, I feel like so obnoxious. And like maybe on a bigger channel, it might be worth it tolerating him if it could get my channel more views, but otherwise, no. But I just felt like it was so snaky to just like not tell me, hey, we're doing a live, Kayla. Do you want to come on? To just send me the live, to be in just send me the link to this VC when they're live. It's just so snaky. So that's why I was going off on Emery. So perhaps it was probably kind of misplaced. I don't know. I still feel like he was somewhat complicit, but still, probably a lot of it was misplaced when I went off on him like that. But I don't know. Kind of just moved past it though. I mean, I guess kind of water under the bridge, or at least, I mean, I don't know. I haven't talked to him about it, but it seems like that. Like we've been chill since then, talking about whatever. And he's like said positive things about me. Maybe somewhat joking, but eh. Yeah, Ryle's just he's better than Ryle. We'll say that. Gistical, um, I've seen it. Yeah, I might get off soon, but like also too, not in a while. But yeah, too might be a good time too as well soon. There's a chat too. It's pretty quiet right now. My throat's getting dry too. I'm talking a lot. Yeah, okay, but yeah, I think I'm gonna get off. Thanks for everyone watching. Yeah. See everyone later.